Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning. Welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, we had a good show last week with Advanced Concrete Finishing.
Yes, it was. Very interesting.
30 years of experience that they brought to the table.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to a lot of people in Moore County, especially as spring goes on. Mm-hmm. And my guest and I have one thing in common. We both have been in our respective businesses here for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we get the voice of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So how many times in the spring, in the summer, you drive around and you see all these cars parked within 2 or 3 blocks of a specific house with directional arrows?
All the time.
Weekends especially.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
What?
I have a feeling you're either talking about yard sales, estate sales, or some sort of I'm trying to clean out my house sale.
Yeah. Well, these estate sales.
Oh, okay.
And
those are fun.
They're a lot of fun. There's a subculture of people here in Moore County who, they're addicted to
yes.
them. And but today we're going to have a chance to speak with Joy Wise of Wise Associates. Joy has been in the business for 20 years, and I've had the privilege of working with her on a lot of sales. And they're called estate sales. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. They're all different. And a lot of people love going in and finding trinkets or furnishings or this or that to complement what they already have. But it's a lot of work. I've seen the setup, the preparation, a couple of days before. It's not like you just open someone's house and let people come in. Joy, I'll say good morning with that brief introduction.
And good morning to you, Bill, and thanks for having me.
Have I captured a little bit about what you do?
Yes, you have.
Estate sales are very popular.
Yes, they are.
In Moore County, we talk a lot on the show about demographic shifts, and there are transitions going on with generations.
That's true.
And you sometimes get called to run an estate sale. Can you talk just briefly, big picture, what an estate sale generally is, how you get called in? Is it generally from the family? Is it the age group of the people that are having an estate sale? Is it from local attorneys? And the reasons for the estate sale?
Well, it's kind of like all the above.
Okay.
But I do get a lot of referrals from people like you, from realtors.
Right.
A lot of satisfied clients.
Yep.
Through referral. And through attorneys that are dealing with estate sales.
Yeah.
And a true estate sale, I call it an estate sale, is when both parties are deceased. If it's just one party is still alive, I call it a tag sale.
Okay.
So we've got really, you can have a moving sale, you can have a tag sale, you can have an estate sale, but they're all the same. It's just kind of the legality part of it saying it's an estate sale.
What about the sale where somebody is downsizing, but they're moving into some sort of an assisted living situation or a retirement environment where there is some level of care there? Are those called tag sales?
Yes, absolutely. It's called a tag sale.
Okay.
And probably 75% of my sales are tag sales.
Okay.
Because one or the other party is still alive.
Right.
And because of these reasons, they have to downsize. And where do they turn to? There's a lot. Death, as you know, is a very stressful thing for a partner.
Right.
And they don't know which way to turn.
Right.
And we can offer them. I have a lot of resources that I can pull from. So if I can't help one person, I can always advise them. I don't ever leave anybody just hanging. I'll give them a list of other people to call. And like I said, each sale is different. So what I do at one house, I might not do at another house.
That's right.
So whatever works best for my client.
Are the mechanics of a tag sale versus an estate sale different from one another, or are all the elements of the preparation that you have to do and the pricing and such the same?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So
Yeah.
no difference to
No
you.
different. It's just the name. A lot of people will say, "What's the tag sale and what's an estate sale?" And then I explain it to them.
Okay. So there are a lot of questions. Pricing, how you set up a sale, and how does the either the child of the deceased party or the person who's going to assisted living, how do you set that whole structure up so that it becomes palatable to them as well? Just a big picture view.
Well, pricing can be the hardest thing I do
Right.
because you take I consider a lot of factors when pricing something. Number one, what it is, the condition of it, the demand of this piece, or whatever. And I do always consult with my client, and I will ask them, what do you have something that's of value? Because I want to make sure that we're both on the same page. Because what I consider value and what they consider value could be two different things. And fair market value is how I price items, not what it's valued at or what you paid for it. It's what we can sell it for here in this community.
Fair market value.
Fair market value, yes.
So there are a lot of misunderstandings about fair market value.
Yes.
As a real estate broker, I get caught in situations many times as either a listing or a selling broker where one buyer is purchasing a home from a seller, and a contract is drawn up, and lo and behold, the seller wants to sell some of their personal furnishings, or the buyer would like to purchase some of the furnishings. And I'm involved in two situations right now, and this has nothing to do with an estate sale.
Yeah.
But I have a problem, and this is what I tell people, and if I'm wrong, you correct me.
Okay.
When a seller says, I'm moving and I don't want to pack everything on a truck, I'd rather just sell it and then move to my next destination and start again, I usually say, okay, fine. We're not furniture brokers. We're not personal property brokers.
Right.
But as a seller, I said, you have to figure on about 25 to 30 cents on the dollar as a starting point, because the market value of those furnishings are not as high as the seller thinks. And the buyer is always looking for a deal, and we get stuck in the middle.
Right.
What do you tell people?
Well, I'll tell them that I will work to get the best possible price that I can get for them. And once again, I stress the fair market value when pricing. The market here, the market in Raleigh or Chapel Hill or Greensboro, Charlotte, it's all different. And like I said, I use a lot of resources. I'm continuously online trying to get the best possible price I can get.
But if you were me, and we had you duly licensed as a real estate broker, and you were stuck in the middle of brokering personal stuff, is my estimate of 25 to 30 cents on the dollar, for instance, for a washer and a dryer that might be a year old?
You're close.
Am I close?
Yes, you're close.
Okay. A couch that's 3 years old, or a furniture set, is it less than 25 cents?
Well, sometimes,
Or more than 30 cents?
well, like I said, depends on what it is. If you've got a sofa and you bought it, let's say, 2 years ago, and you paid $1,500 for this sofa,
Right.
I would ask for more than half of that.
You would ask for
I
more
would,
than half of that.
considering that that it's in good condition
Right.
and the style of the sofa. It, like I said, there's a lot of things that I factor into this price. If it's a 12-year-old sofa and the bones of the sofa are not that good, I might have 150 or 200 on it.
Right. Way less than
Yeah,
that.
so each piece, there's a lot of things determine the pricing, and that's why I say it's hard.
Yeah.
And then some things are pretty easy. You know about what someone's going to pay for a piece.
Right.
It's just like right now, and it has been for a while, dining room furniture. The market has been flooded with dining room furniture for a long time.
Right.
Because that's the first thing to go when somebody is downsizing. So it's got to be a really nice table and so forth. And antiques are not selling as well as they once were.
Okay.
So things just cycle.
Dining room furnishings are on the decline in terms of demand.
Yes.
Is that a reflection of the changing demographics?
Well, that plus, like I said, you've got so many people that don't need
Yeah.
that dining room furniture. They're downsizing. They don't have a dining room.
Even the younger buyers today don't have as much use for a dining room
Right.
as they do for a family room, something open to a kitchen, where it's a mixed-use space.
Right, and they don't want a formal
Yeah,
dining room.
yeah. I know some
Tables.
families who have that. They convert the dining room in a house. They put little guards up at the openings to the kitchen and the family room for their kids, where
Yeah.
they can watch their kids with toys and such. What do you find are the most popular items today that people want on these tag or estate sales?
Well, the trend now is going to modern and contemporary. So if you've got something that has been purchased within the last 5 years, it'll sell pretty fast.
Yeah.
But if you've got that antique piece, it's got to be that right person to come in to want that particular piece. But people love estate sales.
Mm-hmm.
They want to buy. They know it's a good buy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
How do you handle, for lack of a better phrase, the nickel and dimers who come in and they always want to negotiate, right?
yeah, I don't do that. I don't. There's no negotiating that
The
first
price
day.
is the price.
Yeah, because I think my prices are a good price, and I tell them, or if they ask me, yes, the next day we do reduce things. Normally, I reduce furniture to 30% off, and most everything else is 50%. And that is always an exception to that rule. If we've got a nice painting or a nice oriental rug, I'm not going to reduce that to 50%. And sometimes we can put a reserve on a piece. We do that quite often.
How do you learn over the 20 years that you've been doing this? How do you learn the art of appraising antiques, paintings, especially if you're working with the children of a deceased parent, and there's some keepsakes in the home that were heirlooms or that had some value at some point in time? Do they ever ask you to defend your valuation?
Yes, they do.
What do you tell them?
It depends on, once again, what that piece is.
Okay, okay.
It really does. A lot of people forget sometimes that they've got something of value. They will fail to mention a stamp collection
A stamp collection?
or a coin collection.
Right.
They'll just forget. So that's why one reason I always ask, what do you consider of value in this house? The same thing as with a painting. And when I price a painting, we make sure that, it's signed. I've got several sites that I go to and to price that. And then if I can't find this artist, I've got one resource that I usually call and they can help.
What about rugs?
Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a book with rugs.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing, I use eBay a lot. eBay is a good resource, but what the person doesn't know is they're looking at the listing price
Right,
of something.
right.
They don't know what the selling price was, and that is two different things. And unless you're a member on eBay, you cannot see what that selling price was. So I look at both.
Oh, okay. And when you talk about the listing price, you're talking about the listing price on the resale of the item.
Correct.
Not the, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have to spend a lot of time with people that are moving into assisted living? You have to give them the news sometimes. Hey, these things I know are near and dear to you, but here is what their value.
Yeah.
These are the parameters we have to work with. You have to manage your expectations.
Right. A lot of times people would tell me this was their great-grandmother's
Right.
vase.
Right.
And
You've heard it all, have you not?
yeah. Yeah.
Right. How do you keep your demeanor and your patience? Because you probably get barraged with so many similar comments and questions. You almost like have them automatically ready to answer.
Well, after you do it so long, it kind of comes naturally. But also, I consider my work a service,
Right.
that I'm helping people.
Right.
And I take into consideration, if this were my family, if
There
this
you
was
go.
my mom and
There
my
you go.
dad,
There you go.
how I would want them to be treated.
We're going to come back in the second set. You and I had occasion to meet with a friend of mine of 18 years a couple of days ago, and I saw how you spoke to her, how you were patient, how you were putting yourself in her shoes and trying to absorb her vision. It was very impressive.
Thank you.
We're speaking all about estate sales and tag sales. Joy Wise is our guest for the hour. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. We're back in the second set, talking about tag sales and estate sales with Joy Wise. Joy, 20 years in the business. How did you get started in estate sales?
I've always loved antiques, loved going to auctions.
Yeah.
And auctions were very popular at that time. And if you've got a good auctioneer, you can learn a lot about that particular piece.
Okay.
And then I was working full time here in town.
What were you doing?
I was working at the Pinehurst Medical Clinic.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was there 23 years actually.
Wow.
And then downtown there was a store called Yesterday's.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a booth in there.
Dorothy's nodding her head. Yes, she remembers it.
Yes, and it kind of evolved. And Bill, Tony had this particular business, and Bill had some health issues. And I had started helping him just on weekends. And I told him, I said, if you ever decide that you can't continue this, let me know. And lo and behold, and 6 weeks later, he said, let's talk.
Huh.
And I never looked back.
So it was a passion you had anyway.
Yeah. You got to love this business.
So you retired from Pinehurst Medical, and then you got a chance to do what you really enjoy. Not that you
Yes.
didn't enjoy Pinehurst
Right.
Medical. And you've learned a lot in 20 years, and you have stories probably that could fill up 4 shows.
Oh, yeah, and you still learn, and that's what I love. You're continuously learning. You think that you know all about art, or all about silver, or all about China, and then along comes something you haven't seen before, you haven't heard of, and then you've got to research, and then...
What do you... Yeah. I have more questions about that later.
Okay.
Inventory and such. But let's go back to the meeting you had the other day, where I met you with a dear friend of mine, and she is in transition. She is moving to an assisted living, a care facility. She's in good health, and you were very smart to say, best that you do that now when you can walk in, decide on your own. This is what you want to do. So she was all excited to meet you.
Okay.
And she walked you through the house and showed you everything. And one of the things she said was, I have to look to, first of all, see if there's enough here to do a sale.
Correct.
And you kept hammering down on the point that the most important thing that she could do in this first initial meeting, because this setup takes time, was for her to make a decision as to what she was taking with her to the apartment that she was going to move into.
Yeah, and that's hard for them, especially women. They have a sentimental attachment to a lot of pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with when I price a piece. If you've got a sentimental attachment to it, you keep it, because sentiment does not add $1 of value to anything.
Right. Dorothy, do you remember when we talked about when my mom passed away in 2007 and my 3 siblings and I became orphans?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that my brother and I both took, 2 or 3 keepsakes from my parents, that we have in our home, and that both my sisters
Are still trying to get rid of stuff?
they put all of my mother's furnishings in a storage facility in New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
It's been there for 12 years.
My mom's
It's
the
still
same way.
there.
It's still there.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh, is right. And these are smart women. And my brother and I look at each other like, what? But you're right. Women, how my brother and I looked at the process of winnowing down and how my sisters did like night and day, Mars and Venus.
Yeah, oh yeah. Men say, get rid of it all. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want it. And
Right.
women have that attachment to it.
So the men want to be black and white, and the women live in gray.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, not in every case.
But you're right. This particular lady was stressing
Yes,
about
she
what to take
was.
and what not to take, and over worrying
Yes.
a little bit.
And I tell them when I go in, I don't hold you to anything because I give them plenty of time
Yeah.
to make their mind up because I don't want someone to be sorry that they sold something because that has happened a couple of times. But I do have to have some idea what's for sale to determine if it's going to be
Worthwhile.
profitable for me. Exactly, because I have a staff and it takes time to do these sales.
So from the first time you walk in to meet someone like this person, to let's assume that you're going to do a sale on her property. This doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, she's got to move, number one, to the place she's moving to. Then you have to find a date in your calendar or a weekend where you're going to hold a sale. And tell me about the prep work, because if she walks out the door, takes the stuff with her to where she's moving, then everything is in its place. Will you go in with your army of 3 to 6 people, and you might need 3 or 4 days to reorganize everything and get it set up so that it doesn't look like a house, but it looks like everything is laid out for people to walk through the house and there's a flow.
That's correct. But the first thing that I tell my client, there are a lot of things that you can't sell.
Right.
Refuse. And it's up to them. I'll go through each closet, your cabinets, and say you need to get rid of this before I can come in.
Right. That's right. You did say that.
Yes, because it could take me just days of cleaning out. And I come in on a Monday. We work that week of the sale. And a lot of times, if the client cannot do it, I can tell them, yes, I will be glad to clean it out for you, but I have to charge for the clean out.
Sure.
Sometimes I will tell them that get their handyman or their yard man or their cleaning lady, get them to help you because it's a lot of stress. It's mental and health for that elderly client.
Right.
So,
I met with the lady that I mentioned, the young lady that I mentioned to you the other day at the meeting, who might assist.
Oh, yeah.
And she was assisting me on something else today, and she's going to be more than willing to help this
Good.
particular lady
Good.
get rid of some of the things
Right.
that she needs to. So, okay, so you've done that. Now you go into the home, and you need time to price everything, every dish, every spoon, every glass, every painting, rug, furnishings. It's very time-consuming.
Yes, and once the clean out is done,
Yeah.
then more than likely I rearrange the entire house.
Right.
Because I stage it because I want it to look nice.
Right.
Presentation can be 90% of a sale sometime. So we do bring out things that are in cabinets. I bring in my tables and we put black cloths on the tables and we display the items that way. But furniture, we have to rearrange a lot of times because you want a good traffic flow. You don't want someone bumping in
That's right.
to tables and things like that. So
That's right.
how the house might have looked when you were selling it is entirely different now because I'll have people actually go online and see a house and say, well, where's that table? Where's that chair? It's not here.
Right.
Well, she took it, that type thing.
Yeah. We did, you did an estate sale for a seller of mine, and it was an estate sale in Old Town about a little over a year ago. It was an older red brick home. They had a lot of inventory, some beautiful things, a 2-story home, and honestly, you did restage that house to handle the flow. I think it was 2 years ago now, and I forget the address. It was a cul-de-sac right behind the spa. It's a shame. Bob Thompson had referred me to the seller, and
Okay, yeah.
and we had spoken with you about the sale, and the son lived in Ohio. It's driving me crazy that I can't remember the address.
Yeah.
But that was a big
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah. And two, I inventory for my clients. I inventory every piece of furniture that we have for sale.
Goodness.
And that's all time consuming. So when the sale is over and I present a check to my client, I give them this inventory sheet so they
Right.
can sell, so that they can actually see what each piece sold for, or if it didn't sell.
Right. What happens? I remember the gentleman, the son from Ohio, was very pleased with the sale, and he said by Monday, I think you started it on a Thursday or Friday. I don't recall, but you had said you would need a Sunday and Monday to clean out,
Yes.
and the house could be turned back over to us. We were the listing company at the time.
Yeah.
So what happens with what remains?
Well, a lot of people ask me that, and we can handle that several different ways. Number one, it's what's left is still my client's. It's not my property; it's the client's.
Okay.
So if you've got, hypothetically speaking, let's say a bedroom suit left over and it didn't sell.
Right.
Well, if you want to give it to the neighbor,
Right.
you want to give it to a member of your family,
Right.
that's up to you.
Okay.
Or I can have it donated for you.
Okay.
And that person can get a complete tax write-off for that.
Okay.
And I handle all that.
Okay.
And that's always on a Monday morning.
Okay.
I meet, the people there that are going to pick up, and usually by lunchtime or 2:00 at the latest, the house is completely empty.
But so let's say that you don't have that much time from the end of your sale to get people lined up to come in and donate. Do you have that all set
It's
up?
all yes. When we sign a contract, all that everything's taken care of. My client knows exactly what's going from the day I walk in until it's over.
So it's a misnomer then to say that you purchase or you inherit all the stuff
No,
at the
I do not.
you do not.
No,
And you do not
I act
purchase
as a broker just like you do. I come in and I sell it for them. It's not my.
So you're not accumulating stuff. You must,
No.
because I could see you have a large warehouse somewhere, 20 years worth of stuff.
I do not.
Okay.
I have no storage facility at all. And a lot of
Okay.
people will ask me that. They'll ask me if something doesn't sell, can you take it to another sale?
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Okay. Let's come back in the third set. Again, I have more questions to ask. Our guest is Joy Wise of Wise Associates. We're speaking about the ins and outs of tag sales and estate sales, what people need to know, what the children, sometimes the parents, need to know in making these decisions, because things seem to happen pretty fast once an estate is opened up and the process of winnowing the estate down has to take place. This is all things Moore County. Welcome back to our third and final set. Speaking with Joy Wise from Wise Associates, 20 years in the estate and tag sale business, and those 20 years has taught her a lot. And I would think, Joy, that one of your and you started it after you retired from Pinehurst Medical. You sort of inherited a small business at Yesterday's, and then you mushroomed it into a business that. Did you know 20 years ago, could you sense the changing demographics? Because I moved here in 1999, completely different environment than it is today.
Well, we knew it was a growing community. I mean, we've been living here since 1975.
Wow.
But in the last 5 years especially, no, I would
10.
never have,
Yeah.
well, 10, but 5 years a lot.
It's exploded.
Never have, yes. It's just...
Have you lived in the same house since the 70s that you're here?
We built our
mention-
home in 78.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So
and
you
I've
have
been in the
really
same-
seen it.
Yeah.
That was a sleepy road, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Not
yeah.
anymore.
No, it's a busy street. but
Crazy.
Great neighborhood.
And yeah.
good neighbors, thanks to you.
Well, that's right.
You sold the
Michael-
house next door, and I just love my neighbors.
They are, and those girls.
Oh, yeah. Nice family with 3 little girls.
3 little girls. Over the 20 years, one of the best things I think you bring to the table in speaking to people if they're interviewing you is your mailing list.
Oh, yeah.
You must have a Rolodex the size of China, because once you sign a contract with to do an estate or tag sale, you have an intricate process set up whereby you can spread the word very quickly to a large list of past clients who have come to buy.
That's true. And another thing, it depends on what's, again, I stress this, what's in the house.
Right.
I can call 2 or 3 people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's designers, collectors,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and I'll say, I've got a sale coming up.
I have to stop you for one
Okay.
second. Dorothy, did you hear that she said collectors?
Yes, I did.
Do you know what my next question is going to be about? Collections, me, shaving stuff.
Yeah, somebody's going to inherit some sort of a huge shaving collection, aren't they?
Mhm. I'm a shave collector
Oh, good.
from way back. I mean,
Neat.
but keep going, because you know people that will be interested in certain things before you ever even price them.
Yes, but they also know that I can't sell it to them until the day of the sale. I do not pre-sell to people. I don't think that's fair.
Right.
You'll have people to come to the sales that's standing in line for 2 hours.
That's
and
right.
They walk in the house and they're there for one particular item. And
Something's pre-sold.
yeah, I do not pre-sell.
So you're pretty disciplined about
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
And you run it. You run your ship in a very tight, organized
I
way.
try to. You have to be.
Yeah.
And I try to be consistent
Yeah.
with everything I do.
But there are people that when you see a certain item,
Mm-hmm.
a light might go off in your brain.
Yes.
I know somebody who'd be interested to see this. So you do a lot of pre-announcements prior to your sale.
Oh, yeah, because you want to spread the word.
Right.
So, and all the girls that, work with me, whoever they see out in the community, they'll let them know. Because some of the girls that work with me, they'll know people that are looking for something, but I necessarily won't know that person. So it's so much by just word of mouth.
So you go into a home, you bring your own tables, you bring your own equipment, and when you leave the house 4, 5, 6 days later, the house is going to be emptied and cleaned.
Complete.
Right. And this is something you do in the contract phase. This is everything you get set up ahead of time.
Yes. My client knows exactly what's going on from the day I walk in until the day I walk out.
Right.
They know everything.
And for anyone listening, whether it's for themselves or if it's a couple of kids for their parents, you basically work on a percentage where you agree up front. Here's the inventory. This is what I'm going to price, and this is the breakdown, how it's going to be.
Correct.
It's all a formal contract.
Right.
No questions asked.
Right.
Okay, and you're very consistent, and that's
Yes.
one reason why there's been a lot of longevity in your career. Can you talk about what are some of the most unusual things you've sold, or the most unusual homes that you've held sales in? Because I'm sure some stick out above
Yeah.
others.
The first thought that came to me when you asked me that question, I had a car that was in the movie The Untouchables.
A car?
A car.
You sell cars?
Yeah, we do sell cars. But this car was in the actual movie, driven by Elliot Ness.
Is that right?
Yes, and I knew it was at the time. It was one of our friends on West Side. He owned a funeral home, and he collected old cars.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I called him, and he bought that car.
Now that I think about it, the house that we referenced earlier in the show in Old Town, the son who lived in Ohio, he had a car to sell. Did you sell that car?
Yes, we did sell that car. We sure did.
The price was set up ahead of time in
Yes,
agreement
we do.
with the
yes.
son.
And we'll know, what's the bottom price that you'll take. Yeah, cars I've always sold. They sell well.
And I bet that a lot of the cars you inherit are low mileage
Oh,
cars
yeah.
that might have 10 years of age, but maybe only 25,000
Exactly.
miles.
And that's what people are looking for.
They're in mint condition.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that funny? My sisters drive the car my mom had. It was 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
It barely has 40,000 miles on it, and it's a Honda Accord?
Well, it'll last a long time.
Yeah, and they park it in New York City, and they use it
Wow.
for here and
Yeah.
there. Hardly used.
Yeah,
So you do wind up. So I can see why you would.
yeah.
What are some of the other things that have stood up in your mind, or most unusual things?
Jewelry.
Okay.
Um, I've had some very old pieces of jewelry to sell, and after researching a piece and after I had limited my sources, I took it to to a jeweler to make sure. But the piece was probably at least 300 years old, and you
Wow.
just don't come across
Wow.
something like that. And when I price jewelry, I mean, there's costume jewelry and there's fine jewelry. We can test it to make sure it is gold, if it's silver, we have a diamond tester, so we can do all that.
All right. So, Dorothy, this conversation was not rehearsed, right?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, watch this.
Okay.
Okay. So, with jewelry, you have probably sold over the years sterling silver charms and scarab bracelets.
Oh, yeah.
And if you remember, you probably will, some of the markings on those sterling silver pieces were Bowcraft. Beaucraft, or Bow Sterling, Beau.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Okay. When I got out of college, guess what I did?
What?
I worked for Bowcraft.
No, you did not. Really?
Yes. I traveled the entire state of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and I used to call on jewelers. So, and these were cast pieces. These were beautiful pieces. So, Bow Sterling was based in Providence, Rhode Island.
I did not know
at
that.
215 Georgia Avenue. And they were, in those days, it was Wells and Bow,
Okay.
Cremens. These are all names you would know.
Yeah.
And some of the most intricate charms and pins and dogwoods. And I know I've seen them around, and there was, I think Honeycutt Jewelers used to carry Bowcraft in their store, but they always come up on estate sales.
Yeah.
Bow Sterling.
Yeah, because it's an older
That's right.
company.
Yeah, it was. They're all domestically manufactured, and they had some of them had a black tint to them. There was oxidizing a little, but Bow Sterling, yeah. And I remember I've seen pieces that when I've gone to sales.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Right. Do you ever I'm asking for myself. Do you ever come across shaving paraphernalia? Men's shaving paraphernalia?
Occasionally.
Yeah, you're
The
gonna have to think
shaving
of me now.
mugs.
Shaving mugs,
Yeah.
brushes, any old razors.
Very seldom we come across a brush, but razors and mugs is mainly. So I got to think of you when I see my next.
Do you
one.
ever
Is that
come
right?
across? Yeah. Do you ever come across any vintage bottles of with aftershaves?
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah.
That are
In
full.
the green bottles.
Yeah, that are
Yes.
full.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to think of me.
Yeah. Okay. And
There's-
shaving stands. Do you like those
Yeah,
also?
and there's a whole blog out there where it's dedicated to vintage pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but you go back to the old Avon and Aquavelva and there's so many different brands. But the bottles that they used in the 30s, the 40s,
yeah.
they're gorgeous.
They are. Yeah. From the green to the blues.
Right.
Even the clear bottles they used
Right.
were nice.
And I grew up in the 70s, and I remember some of the things I would shave with.
Yeah.
Well, today they're like collector items. I go, really? And it's just amazing what happens. And the internet is such a great way to see all this stuff online.
It is.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to think of me.
And when we get something like that that's different, that's a good thing to list in my ad, because you've got collectors out there, just like you, looking for shaving mugs. Well, you don't have shaving mugs in every sale.
That's
So
right.
you want to list as much as you can in your ad to draw the people.
That is so cool. So from the time you sit down with a client till the time you do a sale, sometimes you could be 2-3 months out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I've got one now, 6 months out.
6 months out.
Yeah.
Is there a busier time of the year for you?
No, not really.
It doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. People
Okay.
downsize year round. There's no good time or bad time. What actually matters is what you're selling, what you've got for sale.
So right now, do you have any estate or tag sales coming up in the next 2 months?
Yeah, I do.
Are you starting to advertise them?
I haven't started yet because I don't start until until we sign a contract.
Okay, once you have a signed contract,
Yes.
then you start to market. Makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
How many do you do a year?
Oh gosh.
I'm going to guess. Don't tell me. I'm going to guess on average you do 3 a month.
No, there might be a month I don't do some. I mean,
Okay.
it just depends. 2 is good.
2 a month.
You're
Okay,
right.
24 a year.
Yeah. Two sales a month is good.
Okay.
But I'm sorry to say, sometimes we just have to turn down the sales for one obvious reason or the other.
Is it true that sometimes if you go to a home and you look at the contents that they want to sell, it might not be enough to substantiate or a sale? Do you ever combine homes together where you'll do a sale, where you have 2 different or 3 different homes under one roof?
We have done that on 1 or 2 occasions, but only if the biggest problem there is I don't have a storage facility.
Yeah.
I don't keep things. So sometimes I might know of someone that's got a few pieces of furniture to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask my client, do you bring something in? Do you care if I bring this particular piece in? And I don't bring anything in that would compete with what's already there.
Okay.
But that's on very rare occasions.
It is rare.
Yeah.
So a tag sale and an estate sale are the same thing,
But
except
yes.
there's people have died. They're
Yes.
deceased.
Yeah.
So do you ever do sales that are specialized for somebody who is selling a home, and they are strictly, and they're in their 40s, 50s, or so, they're just downsizing. They just want to downsize and they want to start all over again. Do you ever do sales like that?
Only one time.
Only one time.
Only one time.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
Huh? Because I
Only
think
one time. That's funny you should ask that.
every time, as we get older, the more when we start to sell and divest ourselves, we try to minimize a little bit, but people say they minimize, but they really
No.
don't, right?
Right, including me.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't. No, we think we do, but you really don't.
So if people, okay, so this is a good time of the year to have this conversation. The beginning of spring, the turn of the year, people are starting to think about things they might be planning.
Yeah.
How can people reach you?
Well, several different ways. They can call me at 910
Mm-hmm.
690 5656, and then 910 692 7163. And you can text me, you can email me.
And you're also on Facebook?
Yes. I have my personal Facebook page, which is Joy Wise, and then I have my business, which is Wise Associates Estate Sales.
Okay.
And I have had a lot of people just to go online, and I have been contacted that way.
Yeah. This was great that you could come in and do this so early in the year. And I've enjoyed working with you, and I have a feeling we'll wind up working together. And, you've always said the same thing, especially with an estate sale, when you're working with a broker. An estate sale is a great way to broadcast the home.
Yes.
At the same time, it's being, you're divesting the home of its contents.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. You have people that come to the sales just to see the home.
Right.
And when they ask, is the house for sale? I'll say, yes, it is.
Uh-huh.
And then I will give them the brochure or the realtor's card or whatever.
Right.
And like I said, it's a fabulous way to see a house.
Great information, Joy. Wish you luck this year.
Thank you.
And I know we'll see you down the road this year.
Okay.
Thanks, Joy.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Bill.
much. Dorothy, thanks. We'll look out for the shaving stuff and see what happens this year. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.